Okay, I don't have a whole lot of time here. Yeah, this is an Ahmed video. We only use her for one fight. So hey, is Ahmed good? Yes, Ahmed is very good. The reason why she's good, she helps cleave units. Do I need to say anything else? But there is one thing I will ruin about this unit immediately for you. Ahmed's hands are huge. I don't know why this bothers me so much, but whenever I see Ahmed's model or I see her S3, her hands are just so distracting. I don't know why. But yeah, so we have already primed Kise. Kise has done her S3, gained the 50% boost, and then got the 50% boost from Ahmed. Then it was Zahhak's turn because he got boosted from Ahmed's S2. So then it goes in this particular order you're seeing here. So if I had a little bit more damage, something like that, I probably could have killed the Unbound Knight Arowell, but like my damage just isn't super good on my Kise. My Kise is just kind of fast. She's 240 speed with like only 100 crit damage, but like almost 4.3k attack. So she's strong, yes, but not strong enough to like utterly nuke. And this is also buffed Kise, where they buffed her S2 again for some reason, where she does even more damage on her S2, and it still wasn't enough to like completely just rip through these units. So it's like, okay, it was good, it worked. Ahmed's good, she just has really big hands. So here, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, I edit this fight down because I was just unsure with my draft at the start of like what I should do against Archdemon Mercedes. So what I do is I skip through most of the fight. So what I do is I completely skip the entire first part of the fight where I fight Archdemon Mercedes because I was just worried for whatever reason that I was going to be hit with a seal somehow. But if you look at the team comp, there is actually no way that Roana was ever going to be touched with a seal, because the only way that would happen is if Roana's health ever got low enough, which it really shouldn't, because the one who's getting all the abuse from the actual damage dealer, which is Choux, is Shadow Knight Pyllis. So I guess that was just a bad draft on my part. I did not need to bring this team. If I wanted to go faster, instead of bringing Christy, I could have brought Arunka. But ultimately, as this fight kept going and going and going, this Conqueror Lilias was really giving me some grief because she was rocking Border Coin and she was already fast. So now she's just insanely fast, and she's refreshing the barrier that's on Choux constantly, and it's just slowing everything down. I think by the time we finally end this match, I'm down to like 11 turns remaining until draw, which that's pretty bad. That's kind of how you know you didn't really pick a great draft for your Guild War fight, because you just wasted lots and lots of time just trying to go through their defense. But hey, whatever. We ultimately get through it. It's just, yeah, if I wanted to do this fight faster, I probably would have had a lot more success if I had if I had Arunka with me. The biggest problem that comes with that is anytime I'm bringing Arunka into like any kind of debuff period, is if I brought Arunka instead of Christy, I would have to deal with attack down. It's just something I have to deal with, and I would have to deal with it constantly. Sucks, but hey, at least Arunka does have the added benefit of being able to give herself attack buff pretty much almost whenever she wants with the S3, because you're not going to blow that unless you see an opportunity to really use it. And right here, I turn off auto because I feel like I could probably make better decisions myself by rationing Pyllis's S3 or soul burning it just to get a little bit extra damage. I just kind of noticed, God, this is dragging. And then also just any way to mitigate like the Conqueror Lilias from using S3 or S2, because it's like it was just getting boring at that point. And I was just like, God, this is so fucking tedious. So yeah, what I did was, yeah, I turned off auto, so now I'm going to just, like, you know, use my turns accordingly, and then try to go into the Choux just to get this bitch to die. But yeah, she just straight up wasn't going down because of all the damn barriers that Conqueror Lilias was doing. I would have to rewatch the footage again at some point or anything like that to figure out what the speed that Conqueror Lilias was. To be completely honest with all of you, I don't even check any of that shit anymore. I really don't. Unless somebody tells me otherwise, like, oh wow, did you see that? It's like, no, I don't care. I don't look at any speeds on any units unless it is glaringly obvious. Like if if any of my, like, non-opening units happens to, like, go turn 1 against a Conqueror or Lilias or something, those are the only times I really notice it. Otherwise, I always assume an opener is 300 speed. Period. I never speed contest because, quite honestly, I just never see it as a good idea. So, we're about to win this fight right here, and I also edit it through it so you guys don't have to watch the Conqueror Lilias portion of it. But you probably noticed right here, this Choux went absolutely insane. The sheer amount of, like, extra follow-up attacks that she got for her S2 were crazy. I completely lost count and stopped counting at one point. So, what I do is I go in, use this, and then I just edit over to, like, the next portion right here. And hey, that's the end of the fight. Yes, I am, Christy. So, here is another thing that I do. I always use this team now, forever and ever, against a Lua team. Just because, Lua's a broken bitch. Fuck this character. You brought me to this. So, what is it that I'm doing? I'm using Christy to give extra ER to Shadow Knight Pyllis, and I'm using Roana there strictly as a counter to anytime Choux goes crazy, or if Magic Befriends procs. It's invaluable, because the amount of times I have been fucked over by dumb RNG bullshit is staggering, and I'm sick of it. So, what I do here is I have created this foolproof way of not getting death broken by Lua, or getting stripped, or getting slept, or anything like that, because she's going to be targeting Shadow Knight Pyllis the whole time, because we have 2 greens on the team. So she's only going to go into Shadow Knight Pyllis. And sure, I may get hit with Beguile or anything like that on Christy or Roana, because like any good Luas are probably rocking 150 or so plus effectiveness. But that's where, like, all this extra bloat of ER I have comes in. It just is extremely, extremely helpful. And it completely trivializes the team. So, what's the goal here? We're going to go for Mercedes first. And the reason why we're going for Mercedes first is strictly just because, hey, who gives attack buff? Well, that would be Mercedes right over there. So, if Mercedes is taken out of the picture, then we don't have to deal with any attack buff, period, on Choux. And if we don't have to deal with that, cool. So, Mercedes is really about to die in, like, the next turn right here. And now that that's done, hey, you guys know the drill. Just start autoing, because at this point, they can't win. Because, yeah, the Choux could probably go as crazy as possible on my Shadow Knight Pyllis, but my Christy is also rocking Aureus. Aureus is there to just tank that extra little bit of extra damage that Shadow Knight Pyllis may take. So, with all of this protection, it's just it's a slow fight, but it's a pretty damn near hard fight to lose. And this team has been running rampant for a little bit too long. Just Lua is a dumb character, doesn't need to exist. I understand why she came into the game, because Huayang was fucking insane, and she was like a perfect counter to Huayang. And now SG just straight up killed Huayang. So now that we don't ever have to worry about Huayang, now we have to deal with all of her fucking bullshit counters. Bravo. But, yeah, either way. So now all we're doing, we're just autoing through it, because, yeah, we can't lose at this point. All we have to do is just keep hitting Choux. And, yeah, she does have, like, a little bit of recovery on that S2, but it's really not a threat. Because the reason why that last fight was taking exponentially longer is because the Conqueror Lilias being on that team slowed everything down to such a degree with all of the barriers that were present at hand. And then she could actually heal a little bit through it. She had barriers, she could heal through it, and it was just hard to get to her health bar so that we could speed this up. But yeah, if it's just Lua that you're dealing with, especially one of these kind of Luas that is rocking Guiding Light, it's like, oh man, I gotta protect this unit, it's so broken. Nah, if you have enough ER, you really don't do shit, Lua. And yeah, right here, Choux should be going down. So now all that's left is you. What are you gonna do about it? You're not Landy, you don't do damage, you just do annoying debuff shit. And if you have a means of countering the annoying debuff shit, you do nothing. So yeah, that's just the way it is. And in all honesty, you could stop the auto here, and then you could hit with Roana and it would have been fine. But hey, you know what? Let's just go on ahead and go out with a bang. We'll just have everybody use all their oh-so-wonderful long skills. You talking about yourself, Lua, there? And with that, that is that. So here's the next fight. Pay close attention. Do you see that Senya on that bar there? That is a fucking 270 or so speed Senya. Okay. Well, bud, I mean, cool flex and everything, but I wasn't going to go into this, like, speed contesting. I wanted to go into this, like, with a little bit of tankiness, but, hey, okay, yeah, do whatever you want. So, what the goal here is, I really, really do like using this team against any and all Zio comps, just because my speed is tuned to the way where Edward is the fastest, so he's going to get hit by the first hit of Zio. And when he's hit first, I just straight up, like, debuff the other team, and I hurt them really, really bad with that initial debuff. Because it will either, like, super nerf the Zio to the point where he just does nothing. So basically what you're seeing is, this first fight is an example of really, really good RNG fighting this kind of team, and just everything working out in my favor. Now, when the next fight starts, you're basically going to see the exact same thing, but you're basically seeing if everything went wrong in the next fight. So, like, and also right here as well, I love using this team against Zio teams, because sometimes Zio really does like to use Savory Adin on this team, and the good news is I don't have any darks on my team. And because I don't have any darks, I don't have to worry about, like, Savior Adin just, like, doing straight-up nuke damage, because I don't think this one was Sword of Cycling Seasons. Yeah, I think this one was Moonlight Dreamblade. I mean, interesting. I don't think that's a really good idea, but yeah. And also, straight up, we have 2 light tanks. We have one light tank that recovers and one light tank that, like, takes all the damage. So the one that's going to initially become the main tank is Arowell. And then when Arowell just about can't take much more, you can just use Doris to heal her, and then you can kind of, like, swap tanks at the time, and then you kind of just keep going from there, which is really nice, because I actually thought that those two didn't have any synergy, but like this, they have amazing synergy for the sake of tanking darks. Now, we're going to fight a similar team. So basically, the only real difference here is instead of Savior Adin, he brought KARINA, and this Senya, by the way, I did not know this going in, but this Senya is rocking a ton of effectiveness. It is so much, in fact, that it almost makes me lose. So there's KARINA right there, and my main strategy at the time, because I'm not as well versed at fighting KARINA, I thought if I went for any other unit, it would actually negatively affect me really badly, but ultimately, she already did her S3, so I'm not really worried about the excess damage that she would do. Now, this was a pivotal moment. You see that right there? Doris just got provoked. And then she just got provoked again. So that's 2 turns now that I can't heal with Doris. But like I was saying about KARINA, you don't really have to worry so much about her S2, because the way her S2 works is if any other unit on the team other than herself hits 50% HP, she will do a non-attack skill, give herself defense buff, and then give the entire team HP, not HP, a barrier. And the barrier is also based on the defense of her defense stat. Now, I did not remember that. I thought it would actually be a lot worse than that. So ultimately, I could have gone for any other unit. The best option would have probably been to try and kill Zio, but I think the Zio is also running Chatty, so that might have also been a trap to extend the barrier as much as possible. So yeah, I can kind of see what this dude was doing. This was actually like some pretty smart comp. But, like, the biggest factor was the sheer amount of effectiveness that was on that Senya. So, if I was not able to strip her counter attack with Edward in that one moment whenever I did, I very well would have probably been fucked. Because now I can heal. Because I wasn't being hit again by the Senya, so now I can heal my main tank. And at this point, I have reinforced my wall, and they cannot break me. So I can keep going into KARINA because I'm still under the impression, okay, well, I mean, I've gone this far. I might as well just go ahead and take KARINA out. And that's pretty much what I do. So I'll just, I'll spend the rest of these turns going for KARINA, and then I'll start working on some of these other units. So right here, I take KARINA out, and I think Doris gets provoked again at one point, but I've already done my big heal. Oh yeah, and I've got my S2 right here. So My wall is hyper reinforced, and I straight up cannot lose at this point. There's no way. There's no way I can lose now. So I think Senya goes for another S3. Oh no, she's silenced right now, but she still gets a provoke off. But hey, at this point, it doesn't matter. Sure, Doris is still main tanking Dark at this point, but like Zio is so low on health, all I need to do is hit him once, and I happen to have a soul burned Edwards S3. What does that do? Hey, he goes 50% on the CR bar, and his S3 itself is reduced by, what, 2 or 3 turns? So next turn, I'm just going to get it. This is why, like, I firmly believe there is no way anybody can still say with a straight face that Edward is bad. There's no way. I am convinced that if anybody is saying Edward is bad at this point, they have to be either trolling or they really have no idea what they're doing. Edward is retarded. Absolutely crazy. And I love him. I love him so much for it. Now, that's odd. So that's Angel of Light Angelica with 20,000 HP. And with fucking Proof of Valor. Okay. I guess you straight up don't want anyone to hit her, huh? So, okay. What's the plan here? So we're using Shadow Knight Pyllis again, mainly as a means of like taking the hits from Arowell and from Belian, because if Belian gets follow-up attacks, things like that, I can nerf the damage that comes out, and this is also on injury. So ultimately, everything's on Arunka, because I have to go through some very, very thick tanks to eventually get through this fight. And this is a very, very prime and very good example of Arunka actually being pretty good, but it feels kind of underwhelming. Because the thing that Arunka does is she's meant to be an anti-barrier specialist, the anti-barrier being if they attack you while they have a barrier active, then she jumps up on the CR bar. Except I think she can only do that once. I can't recall exactly, but it's on her S2. She does have CR manipulation that's on her S2 where she can go up on the bar, but I really do think she can only do it once. And the other thing that's really, really annoying is just how she deals damage with it. It's very frustrating. I wish she didn't have to have a barrier to like do that extra damage, because this would still be a really good counter to Unbound Knight Arowell if she did like Eufiend mechanics of, oh, they have a buff, I'm going to just do extra damage with my S3. And also, straight up, her S1 follow-up procs a fair number of times here, and ultimately, it's not a matter of I needed it to happen, otherwise I would have lost. It really just kind of speeds things up. And also, yeah, the reason why I did that S3 on Belian right there is because, hey, because she had to revive with Holy Sack, she didn't have, oh wow, what's it called? Escort. And honestly, at this point, guys, I think I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Escort might legit be broken. Because, hey, why are we all using Arowell so much instead of, like, say, Fallen Cecilia? Yeah, Fallen Cecilia has been mad fucking OP for, like, what, 2 years? But then, like, whenever Escort came out, and the sheer amount of, like, damage sharing, mitigation, and stuff that came along with it, it just feels like it's a much better protection option than using Fallen Cecilia. It feels more like the better thing to do with Fallen Cecilia is to actually like cleave with her, because you do an AoE, it gives you skill null, and if you have like crit, sure, it's not going to do a lot of damage, but it will do more than what the opponent is expecting, I guess. But like if you're going just for straight up protection, man, it's hard to compete with Arowell. And also Arowell just straight up has a strip. That's huge. And she pretty much just has free ER as well, because if you have Escort on your turn, you get effectiveness buff. It's nuts. Like, holy shit. And yeah, with that, that's this fight. Fun, huh? And yeah, there's my Kise. Love this unit to death. Recently, just finally, Triple Esther. Finally got like just a spare Kise out of nowhere, so she's at 4,300 attack. Nice. But yeah, this wasn't an Ahmed video. It was more like a hey, I'm just going to go slow and not really care about a lot of the things that I'm fighting, and hey, everything will work out just fine. But in terms of Ahmed, yeah, she's good. Like, she really is. Like, what's her whole niche? Is, hey, I CR push the entire team up, and I can make one unit who's, like, really good at doing a lot of damage and turn cycling. I can make them do more damage because I can attack buff them, and I can also make them go through the CR bar even quicker. She's just, yeah, that's how she works. She's good. And she also happens to have a cleanse on her S3. So I was using Rod of Amaryllis on her, and honestly, I don't think that's the best artifact. I'm trying Celestine now because I think you'll get more value out of healing with the S1 attack, like the S1 attack, instead of using Rod of Amaryllis. Because, like, how do you use her? You get your early turn, and then you do your S2 and your S3, but then you didn't get anything out of the Rod. So it's like, I think Celestine will probably work better on her, at least for that perspective. But hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more of my content, please hit subscribe. I hope to hear and see from you guys soon. Later.